And joining us on the Ruffin Orthopedics guest line, and my first guest in my new somewhat studio, even though I'm throwing it back here with the banner in the background, Clay Harbor, former Eagles tight end, joins us. What's up, Clay?
Not a lot, man. I'm sitting here in New York City, and I know I'm in the enemy's territory right now, but trust me, my heart's in Philadelphia. Love the banner, and congrats on the move, man. That's big time. Got the big move, the first guest in the new house, new studio. I feel special, man. Let's knock this one out, man. Let's go Birds.
Yeah, let's do it. When I officially build the new studio and not just put a banner over some Home Depot boxes, that's when I'll have you back again to kick off that studio on its maiden voyage.
You're gonna have to send me your banner guy, because I could use a banner back here too, man. I obviously have to come up with a slogan, but I'll get a nice little banner color scheme behind me. I think that looks pretty cool.
I like it though. The brick is solid. The little blurred brick, it's nice. Nice touch. Yeah, very rustic.
Yeah.
So you are in New York. You're back in school. God bless you. And you're getting the vibe up there in New York. Like, the people in New York, are they talking about Giants football right now? Are they feeling themselves a little bit, beating the Vikings? Did that put their confidence over the top? Where's New York at right now in all this?
I am walking around today, walking to my gym, to WeWork, where I get all my schoolwork and stuff done, and going, you see a little more Giants gear today. They feel like they're walking around with a little swagger, more Giants gear, a little pep in their step. And I hope they know that their season's coming to an end here in a couple of days, on Sunday or Saturday.
We got a Saturday
night at late one too. So
8:15.
They're confident, man. There's a lot of Giants gear out. You can kind of feel the electricity in the city. Division rival, Eagles, Giants playoff game. Winner goes to the NFC Championship. Wow. I mean, doesn't get much bigger than this.
From a player's perspective, let's put you back with the Eagles for a second. Let's put you on the Eagles. And let's say you get the number 1 seed, which is great. Then you got to beat the Giants, which is nice. And then let's just paint this picture where you got to then beat the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game to then get a Super Bowl. I don't know. There might not be a time in history where the Super Bowl wasn't the biggest game of the year. It was just beating the Cowboys in the NFC Championship.
And then on top of that, you're probably going to be going against one of your old coaches, and you get to beat your old coach, Doug Peterson or Andy Reid, or on the other side of the bracket. As a player, man, I mean, first off, the bye week's huge, especially for a team like the Eagles. They got some veterans. Obviously, they got some guys recovering from some injuries. So that's huge to get the bye week so they can rest up and get back 100%, focus on the Giants. They get to watch that game on TV live, we're probably playing one of these teams, so they're watching it there. You come in, you watch the tape, you watch it again, you watch the last game you played against them. In this case, they probably wouldn't watch the last game since, the Giants were resting some of their players, and the Eagles were running that that offense that really didn't seem like the Eagles' offense. Obviously, they just wanted to get the W, and keep Jalen Hurts healthy. So then you go back and you watch the last Giants game, and you just get prepared, man. This Giants team's good. I'm not taking anything away from it. They're a tough team, and it's going to be a hard game, but I think the Eagles are just the better all-around team, man. And that D-line, I think the game's going to be won up front. I think this D-line is really going to get after the Giants, Daniel Jones and Saquon.
I agree, and I think Saquon can go off at any moment. I think the handcuffs are on him a little bit against the Eagles in the first game they had, even though the Eagles blew out the Giants 48-22. And Daniel Jones is coming off a great game. But I do want to ask you this because you mentioned the bye week. Are you a rest or rust type of guy? Is the rest better, or does it matter how many players you got to get healthy? Are you, generally speaking, the bye week is always a great thing? There's no such thing as rust, or you got to keep playing and keep practicing hard and don't get rusty?
Yeah, you got to keep practicing hard. It all depends on how you use it. And I mean, you look at a guy like Coach Reid and the bye weeks back when we were playing in those days. I mean, he was unbelievable after the bye weeks. And what people are like, what's the secret? There was no secret. He literally just let us go home for a week, and we come back and we start practicing again like it was normal, and literally just kind of get out, refresh, regroup. Then you got to come back, and it just makes the week of practice so much more important. Yeah, you come back on, say, Monday, and you get a 10-10-10 practice is what we used to call them. 10 plays offense, defense, like quick practice. Get the juices flowing, then you jump right back in on Wednesday. Well, probably Tuesday, because it's a Saturday game, so everything moves up. So they probably did it on Sunday, 10-10-10, off day Monday, jump back in on on Tuesday with the regular practice base packages, and you just go back in as it's a regular week. And you just got to keep it and mirror it as much as you can to the regular season. People think, oh, it's the playoffs, you got to do all this new. No, man. What's that say about what you're doing beforehand if you're not preparing for the regular season game as good as you could? No, you just go back to that routine and just do what you do. And a team like this, Philadelphia, you just go back, you do what you do. You call the same plays, you go through the same practice, you watch the same type of tape. And I mean, it is a little more intense in the playoffs. I've been blessed to play in 3 playoff games. It's a little more intense, but I mean, still football. You go through the same routine, and there you go. I mean, there's nothing that changes. It's still football, and the Eagles still have the better team.
Yeah, that's what I default to. Overall, I see the Giants. I think they actually play well in this game. I don't think they play well enough to. I don't think they play bad enough, to get blown out. I think they kind of hang with the Eagles, but you never really feel all that threatened that the Eagles are going to lose the game. It's kind of one of them deals, and we'll get to your official prediction in a second. But when we do talk about health, 2 guys we're focusing on here in Philadelphia is Lane Johnson and Jalen Hurts. What have you heard about both those players? Lane, how close to 100% do you think he'll be in this game? And Jalen Hurts, how close to 100% do you think he'll be?
Jalen, I think he's going to be 100%. He had an extra week off. He played the week before, and he's going to deal with some pain, but everybody deals with some pain. You're never 100% in the NFL season. There's always something. You're like, dang, man, like this hurts, but it ain't going to slow you down. So Jalen, I think he's going to be playing through some pain, but he's a tough guy. He's going to do that. Everybody says how tough this guy is. He plays through stuff. He's a hard worker. He's going to get himself right. I'm not worried about Jalen. Lane, on the other hand, I think he hasn't really talked to the media. I've been looking to seeing what Lane's saying. Is he going to play for sure? Is he not? And you feel for Driscoll, because Driscoll probably wants to know too. It's like, bro, am I playing or am I not? Like, let me know. Like, that's a bad spot. He wants to play as a backup. Say if I was back in the day in Celtics, questionable. I'm like, okay. Like, am I playing? There's just this click in your brain. Like, if you know for sure you're playing, you're like, okay, it's on. But if you don't know, you're 50-50. It's just as much as you want to just say, prepare like you're playing, prepare. There's still that thought, I could be doing all this and I still can't play. So I feel for Driscoll. I think Lane's going to try because that's who Lane Johnson is. I mean, the guy's a barbarian. I mean, hardworking dude. The guy, he's a guy that, you would see in the old movies. He's on the front line, swinging an axe, running at the opposing army, yelling. Like, Lane Johnson's going to play, okay? Lane Johnson is going to play, but how good is he going to play? Is he going to be able to execute? That's a tough injury. If it's a tough, like, sports hernia or adductor, something like that, I know I've had those, or hip labrum. I know I've had those too. I've had 3 hip surgeries and sports hernia surgeries total in my career. I know how hard that is to play with. So that being said, there's a good possibility where Lane goes and he tries to play. Thibodeau gives him some move, and then he strains something, tweaks it, and like, oh man, now Driscoll's in. Now that changes things, because you don't got Lane Johnson, who's a brick wall, gave up 0 sacks this year. That's such a big part of the game. I know people realize how good he is, but they don't realize how important that is. A guy like Lane, you don't even have to worry about him. You don't have to chip. If you don't have to chip, you get more guys out on passes. You can chip the other side. You can help Mailata, and you don't have to worry about Lane Johnson. So I hope he's okay. I say all that to say this. I hope he's okay. I know he's going to start trying to play, but this is probably an injury. If it's what I'm thinking, like they didn't give the exact injury, hip, groin, like who knows exactly what the diagnosis is here. If you move a certain way, sometimes that stuff pulls. I would have to get injections before every game to go out there, and still this stuff would hurt. So I feel for him.
Could you imagine? Yeah. Could you imagine going out and playing right tackle every single snap, every single play with that injury?
Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence. There's going to be some. These guys are underrated too. Like, these guys can play. These guys can rush the passer. I was watching film on them. Like, wow, I'm surprised. They don't have huge sack numbers, but I was impressed with this D line. This D line isn't like, if you think of a D line, it's not the first one that comes to your mind, but they're good. They're good. I don't think they're Eagles good, but they're good. And going in and playing, if you're 75% in a game like this against athletes like that, is going to be hard. But I still think Lane Johnson at 75 is better. and most other tackles in the league at 100, man, especially Jack Driscoll. Nothing is Jack Driscoll. I think he's a solid backup. But I still like Lane at 75, just knowing the type of guy he is.
Yeah, sure. No, I understand. And if you're Wink Martindale, I mean, the first thing you're doing is testing Lane, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're testing them. You're testing them. You're lining them up. You're saying, hey, let's see how healthy this guy is. I guarantee you they're talking about that, which is messed up. You know, the bounty game stuff back in the day. We don't have bounties anymore, but he's talking to their guys and saying, we are testing this guy. He thinks he's going to play this game. He thinks he's tough. We're going to see how tough he is. Send blitzes, send stunts. They're going to be doing stuff to try to mess up Lane and see how healthy he really is. So it's going to be interesting.
All right. Here's a question for you then. I want your official prediction for this game against the Giants. How you see it going down? Last I looked, which was before I moved, which I think was 3 years ago, it feels like. I was 7.5 still. So what is your prediction on this game? And then what is your expectation of this Philadelphia Eagles team in the playoffs? Where does their season end?
Okay, so my prediction, I got respect for this Giants team. Brian Daboll, when I played in New England, was my tight end coach. I love Brian Daboll. He is a smart guy, very intelligent. I learned more under him in tight end than I did, in my entire career everywhere else. And I mean, that's why Gronk was such a good player. He got to, have Daboll early in his career. And I mean, this guy's he's a special coach. He's stern, but he's still funny. Like, he commands respect, but he's a perfect coach. And obviously you see that as a coach of the year. There's a guy that can really connect with his players, and he gets the most out of people is the thing I would say. He literally knows how to get the most out of you. And that's what he's done with this Giants team. I think Daniel Jones, I think we know he's not a guy that's going to do three-step dropping out, but he's a big guy with long strides. He had 70 yards last week in a playoff game, threw for over 300s with a subpar receiving group. To me, I think the Eagles can shut down the offense. Saquon obviously is one of the best running backs in the league, but you take away the running game. You take away Saquon and Daniel Jones' feet, make him throw the ball, and I don't think he can in this defense with these cornerbacks. So I'm taking the Birds. I'm taking the Birds by 10, 30-20, the Birds.
I like that little Chicago. That's going to be so perfect.
Chicago, the Bears, the Birds.
I got to ask you a Chicago question, but not till later. All right. So Eagles win this game, and then their season ends when? Do they make it to the Super Bowl? Do they make it down Broad Street? How does the season end for the Eagles?
I think the Eagles beat the Giants, and next week I think the Cowboys are upsetting the 49ers. I think Brock Purdy's time runs out. I think we got Cowboys versus Eagles in the NFC Championship game in Philadelphia, night game. I mean, I might leave New York City because it's going to be there might be riots here. That's how crazy this game's going to be. The city's just going to be uncontrollable. So Eagles versus Cowboys. Eagles beat the Cowboys in a shootout. An epic game. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be like Chiefs versus Bills last year in the divisional round. They go to the Super Bowl, and they're playing against their old coach. I mean, it's bittersweet. You're playing against Andy Reid, the guy who you cut him. I think he's still bleeding green. He ain't bleeding Chiefs red yet. And Coach Reid versus the Eagles, and I think Coach Reid and Pat Mahomes are going to win it this year, man. I mean, they're too good. They're too good. But Eagles are going to be there. Eagles to the Super Bowl. Coach Reid comes away with his second ring, and Patrick Mahomes with his second ring.
I can. If I'm taking an L, I can take that one a lot easier than losing to the Cowboys. That one, I can lose to Andy. I can't take losing to the Cowboys. So
something about Jerry Jones just rubs me the wrong way, man. I mean, he's a nice guy, whatever, but maybe it's the colors. I don't know.
Maybe it's the colors. Maybe it's the 8 faces he's had. I don't know. Anyway, all right. Now I got to ask you this. Did you see the story about Nick Sirianni and his pizza, his stuffed crust pizza, his Pizza Hut and all that stuff?
Yeah, he's eating. He ordered a stuffed crust pizza. Not Chicago style, but he had the stuffed crust for the team, for the coaches watching the game.
Would you take offense leading up to, say, a Bears game, as a Chicago kid that you are? Would you take offense to him saying something like that when you guys held stuffed crust pizza so important?
So it's like the Giants saying they ordered a bunch of Philadelphia cheesesteaks. Is that what they're saying? And
pretty much.
We're eating Philly cheesesteaks watching this game. I don't know. I think pizza's just so broad, it's a little bit different. Oh, here we go. We got a superstar with us here.
Yes, we do. Hi, sweetheart. Oh, you're going to bed? Okay. Love you, sweetheart. Say goodnight, Clay. All right, so stuffed crust pizza, Chicago, large deep dish pizza. How would that feel against, if he was doing that, against the Chicago Bears?
I don't take offense to that. I mean, pizza is just such a popular dish, man. I think everybody eats pizza. So, I mean, you can look into it and say maybe he's trying to do something, but I don't think Sirianni's trying to go that mental just tactics right now, like the art of war, getting your opponent's head. Like I don't understand what the point of that would be.
We were just talking about the art of war on this show like last week. I would love for Sun Tzu to have a line in there about pizza. Oh, my God. That'd be fantastic.
You eat Clay. Your opponent's pizza.
Clay, always great talking to you, brother. Thanks so much. And you still doing the Jaguars podcast and the Chicago Bears podcast?
Jaguars podcast, Bears podcast. Follow me on Twitter, Talking Birds, baby. I'm doing it all. Doing it all out here, guys. So you'll find me on my Twitter.
I gotta say, man, that was one hell of a comeback by your Jags, brother.
Oh, unbelievable, man! Unbelievable comeback. And my man Reuben Frank picked Trevor Lawrence. I was listening to his podcast too. He picked Trevor Lawrence as the 8th best quarterback out of 8 in the playoffs right now, and I was pretty upset about that. I tweeted at him, man. I got to see if he tweeted back at me yet, but I wasn't happy about that. I think Lawrence is a solid 5.
Oh, wow. But, okay. All right. Yeah. The 4 first half interceptions, but the comeback and Brock Purdy. And
those weren't his fault. I watched the tape. I broke it down. They weren't his fault.
Understood. Okay. Well, I'll make sure Rube acknowledges that tweet, man.
Yeah.
And he and Dave Zangaro. Dave was just on the show earlier in the week, and they do a great job on that podcast, Eagle Eye podcast, of course. Yeah. Yep. And you and I got to know each other along with Rube. During the bar show at Vesuvio in South Philly. Yeah,
that was fun.
Good times. Clay Harbor, ladies and gentlemen. Clay, thanks for being the first guest in my horrible new studio for now, at least. All right, great catching up with you, brother. Man.
Send me one of those. Send me a signed banner, please.
You got that's maybe a T-shirt. It probably won't fit. Clay, thanks, brother.
Appreciate it.
The great Clay Harbor joining us on the Ruffin Orthopedics guest line.